Thomas Wallace didn't know why he went to her funeral. He had seen the obituary in the Dayton paper 3 days earlier. Eleanor Whitmore, 78, beloved mother, longtime member of Grace Lutheran Church, preceded in death by husband James, 1983. Survived by daughter Ruth. Thomas hadn't spoken that name in 40 years, hadn't let himself think it, but there it was, printed in black ink on newsprint, and something in his chest turned to ice. The funeral was 4 hours away, across the state line in Ohio. He told no one where he was going, just got in his truck at 5 in the morning and drove east, watching the sun rise over the mountains he had called home for 4 decades. He sat in the back row of the chapel, gray suit, the one Margaret had picked out years ago. He kept his head down during the service, didn't sing the hymns, didn't look at the casket, but he listened. The pastor spoke about Eleanor's strength, how she raised her daughter alone after losing her husband in a terrible accident, how she never remarried, how she worked 2 jobs to keep the house, to send Ruth to college, to build a life from what had been taken from her. 41 years, thought Thomas. She carried that weight for 41 years because of him. The service ended. People filed out slowly, hugging and murmuring condolences. Thomas stayed seated, waiting for the chapel to empty. He would leave the same way he came, invisible. But when he finally stood, she was there. Ruth Whitmore, 48 years old now, though he still saw the 7-year-old in her face, the same dark hair, the same serious eyes. She walked straight toward him, past the other mourners, past the flowers and the sympathy cards. She stopped 3 feet away. "Thomas," she said. Her voice was calm, steady. "Thomas Wallace." His hands started shaking. He couldn't hide it. "You know who I am," Ruth said. It wasn't a question. Thomas nodded. The words wouldn't come. 40 years of silence, and now his throat had closed completely. Ruth studied him for a long moment. "My mother kept a photo of you," she said, "from the newspaper, after you won some award. Firefighter of the Year, I think. She cut it out and put it in a drawer." Thomas felt the ground shift beneath him. She knew? His voice cracked on the word. Ruth's expression didn't change. She knew who you were, where you lived. She knew everything. The chapel was nearly empty now. An old woman glanced at them curiously as she passed. Thomas couldn't move. "I don't understand," he said. "If she knew, why didn't she?" "She made a choice," Ruth said, "and now she's gone, so I'm making mine." She reached into her purse and pulled out a small envelope, yellowed with age. "This is for you. She wanted you to have it, but only after." Thomas took the envelope. His name was written on the front in handwriting he didn't recognize. "What is this?" "Read it," Ruth said. "Then, if you want to talk, I'll be at the Marriott on 5th Street until tomorrow morning, room 412. She turned and walked away. Thomas stood in the empty chapel for a long time, holding the envelope. His heart was beating too fast. The air felt thin. He didn't open it there. Instead, he walked to his truck in the parking lot, sat behind the wheel, and stared at the faded paper in his hands. November 14th, 1983. That was the date written in the corner, the date he killed James Whitmore and drove away into the dark. Before we go deeper into this story, I want to thank you for being here with me. If this resonates with you, please like this video and stay until the end. Let me know where you're listening from. I always wonder how far these stories travel. Now, let me tell you how Thomas Wallace became the man who ran. In the fall of 1983, Thomas Wallace was 28 years old. He lived in a small apartment outside Columbus, Ohio, worked at a machine shop during the day, drank at a bar called Mickey's most nights. He wasn't a bad person, that's what he told himself anyway, just lost, just trying to figure out what came next. On November 14th, it was raining. Thomas had been at Mickey's since 6, 4 beers, maybe 5. He wasn't counting. The Buckeyes were playing on the television above the bar, and he watched without really seeing. Around 10, he decided to drive home. He shouldn't have. He knew that even then. But the apartment was only 6 miles away, and he had driven in worse shape before. The rain was coming down hard. His wipers could barely keep up. The road was a 2-lane highway, farmland on both sides, no streetlights. He didn't see the man until it was too late. James Whitmore was walking on the shoulder of the road. His car had broken down a quarter-mile back. He was heading toward the gas station he had passed earlier, collar pulled up against the rain. Thomas's headlights caught him for just a moment, a flash of a dark jacket, an arm raised to shield his eyes. Then, the impact. The sound was something Thomas would never forget, a heavy, wet thud that seemed to go through the entire car. He slammed the brakes. The truck skidded sideways on the wet pavement, came to a stop half in the ditch. For a long moment, Thomas just sat there. His hands were locked on the steering wheel. His breath was coming in short gasps. He should have gotten out, should have checked on the man, called for help, done something. Instead, he looked in the rearview mirror. The road behind him was dark. The rain was washing everything away. And Thomas Wallace made the worst decision of his life. He put the truck in gear and drove home. The next morning, Thomas woke up hoping it had been a dream. It wasn't. He found the dent in his front bumper, saw the crack in his headlight. There was something dark caught in the grill that he couldn't look at too closely. He spent 2 hours in his garage with a hammer trying to fix the damage. His hands were shaking the whole time. That afternoon, he drove past the spot on the highway. There was yellow tape now and a police car parked on the shoulder. He didn't stop. The local news ran the story that night. James Whitmore, 34, father, husband, auto mechanic at a shop in Westerville, found dead on Route 36, victim of a hit-and-run. Driver never identified. Thomas watched the report standing in his kitchen, a beer going warm in his hand. They showed a photograph. James smiling, arm around a woman with dark hair, a little girl on his lap, maybe 6 or 7 years old. Ruth. Thomas waited for the knock on his door. It never came. Days passed, then weeks. The police made appeals for witnesses. The local paper ran a story about Eleanor, the widow, asking anyone with information to come forward. Nobody did. And slowly, terribly, Thomas began to believe he had gotten away with it. 3 months later, he applied to the fire department in a town called Ridgewood, Tennessee, 400 miles from Ohio, far enough to disappear. He told himself he wanted a fresh start, a chance to do something good with his life, to make up for what he had done. But the truth was simpler than that. He was running, and he never stopped. Thomas Wallace spent 30 years with the Ridgewood Fire Department. He started as a volunteer, working weekends while he learned the job. Within 2 years, he was full-time. Within 5, he was one of the most reliable men on the crew. He never missed a shift, never called in sick, never turned down an overtime request. The other firefighters respected him. The chiefs trusted him. He was the guy you wanted next to you when things got bad. In 1996, he pulled a family of 4 from a burning house on Maple Street. The father had passed out from smoke inhalation. The mother was trying to carry both children at once. Thomas went in twice, brought them out one by one. The department gave him a medal, Firefighter of the Year. He put it in a box in his closet and never looked at it again. The thing about saving lives, Thomas discovered, was that it didn't balance anything. Every time he carried someone out of a fire, he thought about James Whitmore lying on the side of the road. Every time a family thanked him with tears in their eyes, he thought about Eleanor and Ruth. He wasn't a hero, he was a fraud. The uniform was just another way of hiding. In 1987, he met Margaret. She was a nurse at the county hospital, 5 years younger than him, with a laugh that made him forget himself. They got married in 1989, had Garrett in 1990, Tess in 1992. For a while, Thomas thought maybe he could outrun it, build a good enough life that the past wouldn't matter anymore. But the past was patient. It was always there, waiting, in the quiet moments before sleep, in the sound of rain on the roof, in the faces of strangers who looked a little too much like the man he had killed. Margaret knew something was wrong. She asked once or twice in the early years. Thomas always said the same thing. Just tired, nothing to worry about. She stopped asking, but she never stopped watching him with those careful eyes. Thomas sat in his truck in the funeral home parking lot for over an hour. The envelope was still in his hands. He hadn't opened it. Part of him wanted to drive away, go back to Ridgewood, burn the letter without reading it, and pretend this day had never happened. But he had been pretending for 40 years. He was tired of pretending. He opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, handwritten. The date at the top was March 3, 2015, 9 years ago. The letter was from Eleanor Whitmore. "Dear Thomas," it began, "I know who you are. I have known for many years. I hired a private investigator in 1994. It took him 3 months to find you. He gave me your address, your phone number, the name of your wife and children. He told me you were a firefighter in Tennessee, that you had won awards, that people in your town called you a hero. I could have gone to the police then. I thought about it. I thought about it every day for a long time. But I watched my daughter grow up without a father. I watched her struggle with anger and grief and questions that had no answers, and I decided that destroying another family would not bring James back. It would only create more pain. So I made a choice. I chose to let you live your life, to raise your children, to be the man you became after you left my husband on the side of that road." Thomas had to stop reading. His vision was blurring. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand and forced himself to continue. "I don't know if I made the right choice. I will probably wonder about that until the day I die. But I do know this. I am not giving you this letter to punish you. I am giving it to you because I believe that you have punished yourself enough. Ruth will give you this after I am gone. What you do with it is up to you. I hope you find peace, Thomas. I never could. Eleanor." The parking lot was empty now. Thomas sat in the silence holding the letter and felt something inside him break open. Thomas drove to the Marriott. He didn't remember making the decision, One moment he was sitting in his truck, the next he was standing in the hotel lobby asking the woman at the front desk to call room 412. Ruth answered on the second ring. "He's here," the woman said. She listened for a moment, then nodded. "You can go up. 4th floor, turn left." Ruth opened the door before he could knock. She was still wearing the black dress from the funeral, but she had taken off her shoes. There were dark circles under her eyes. "You read it," she said. It wasn't a question. Thomas nodded. "Come in." The room was standard hotel. 2 beds, a desk, a window overlooking the parking lot. Ruth sat on the edge of one bed and gestured for Thomas to take the chair by the desk. He sat. His legs felt unsteady. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Ruth said, "I was 7 years old when my father died. I remember the police coming to our house. I remember my mother screaming. I remember not understanding what any of it meant." Thomas closed his eyes. "I'm sorry," he said. The words felt pathetically small. "I'm so sorry." Ruth watched him. "I spent most of my life hating you," she said. "I didn't know your name or your face, but I hated you. You were the monster in the dark, the reason my mother cried on my father's birthday every year, the reason I grew up without him." Thomas couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. "But then she found you," Ruth continued, "and she made her choice, and over the years I watched her make peace with it. Not forgiveness exactly, but something close." She leaned forward slightly. "I want to understand," she said. "I want to know why. Not the accident, that was an accident, but why did you run? Why did you leave him there?" The question hung in the air between them. Thomas knew he owed her an answer. He owed her more than that, but how do you explain the worst moment of your life to the person it hurt the most? "I was scared," Thomas said. The words came out hoarse, barely above a whisper. "I was 28 years old, drunk and scared. I saw him for maybe half a second before I hit him. And afterward, I just sat there in my truck, and all I could think was that my life was over." Ruth listened without expression. "I knew I should get out, check on him, call for help, but I couldn't make myself move. It was like I was watching myself from somewhere else, and the person behind the wheel just wanted to make it all go away." Thomas looked down at his hands. They were shaking again. "I drove home, went to bed, woke up the next morning hoping it had been a nightmare. When I realized it wasn't, I just kept going, one day at a time, telling myself I would turn myself in tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and then tomorrow." He looked up at Ruth. Tomorrow never came, and after a while, I had built a whole life on top of that lie. A wife, children, a career, and the longer it went on, the more impossible it became to tell the truth. Ruth was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, "Did your wife know?" Thomas shook his head. "I never told her. I never told anyone. I carried it alone for 40 years." Ruth's expression shifted slightly, something that might have been sadness or pity or both. "There's something else you should know," she said. She reached into her bag and pulled out another envelope. This one was white, newer. "My mother wasn't the only one who found you," she said. "Your wife did too." Thomas felt the blood drain from his face. "What?" Ruth handed him the envelope. "This was in my mother's papers. She received it in 2015, about 2 months after she wrote her letter to you." Thomas looked at the envelope. The return address was his own home in Ridgewood. Margaret's handwriting. "Your wife wrote to my mother," Ruth said quietly. "She knew everything, Thomas, and she never told you." Thomas opened the envelope with trembling hands. The letter was 2 pages, written in Margaret's careful script. He recognized her handwriting immediately. The neat loops and careful spacing she had used for grocery lists and birthday cards and all the small notes of a shared life. But these words were nothing like those. "Dear Mrs. Whitmore," the letter began, "my name is Margaret Wallace. I am the wife of Thomas Wallace, the man who killed your husband. I discovered the truth 6 months ago. I was cleaning out our garage when I found an old toolbox I had never seen before. Inside was a letter Thomas had written in 1985, addressed to you that he never sent. I read it, and then I understood everything." Thomas stopped breathing. The letter from 1985, he had forgotten about it. Written in a moment of desperate guilt, sealed in an envelope, and then hidden away like everything else. Margaret had found it. "I have spent these past months trying to decide what to do," the letter continued. "Some days I think I should tell him I know. Other days I think I should go to the police. Most days I do nothing at all because I cannot imagine any path forward that does not destroy everything. I love my husband. I know that must be hard for you to read, but the man I have lived with for 26 years is not the same man who left your husband on that road. He is kind and gentle, and he has spent his entire career saving lives. I believe he has been trying to atone. I don't think he has ever stopped trying." Thomas's hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold the paper. "I am writing to you because I need you to know that I am sorry. Not on his behalf, I cannot speak for him, but I am sorry for what happened to your family, for what was taken from you, for the years you spent not knowing. I am also writing to ask you not to contact us, not because I want to protect Thomas, but because I want to protect our children. They know nothing about this. They believe their father is a good man. I would like them to keep believing that for as long as possible. I hope you can understand. Margaret Wallace." The room was silent. Thomas looked up at Ruth. She was watching him with an expression he couldn't read. "She never told me," he said. His voice was barely audible. "She knew for 6 years and she never said a word." Ruth nodded slowly. "My mother kept her promise. She never contacted you, but she kept the letter. I think she wanted you to know eventually, after she was gone, after Margaret was gone too." Thomas's hands were shaking the papers in his hands. 2 women, 2 letters, both of them carrying his secret in silence for years, and he had never known. Thomas drove back to Ridgewood that night. 4 hours through the dark, headlights cutting through the Tennessee mountains. He didn't turn on the radio, didn't stop for coffee, just drove, with both letters on the passenger seat beside him. Margaret had known. For 6 years, she had looked at him across the breakfast table, kissed him goodnight, listened to him complain about his back pain and his retirement plans, and the whole time she had known exactly what he was. He tried to remember those years, 2015 to 2021, when she died. Had she been different? Had she looked at him differently? He couldn't tell. Maybe she had always been watching him. Maybe he had just been too blind to see. He got home after midnight. The house was dark. It was always dark now, since Margaret had been gone. Thomas sat in the driveway for a long time before going inside. The next morning, he went to the garage. The toolbox was still there, pushed into a corner behind the lawnmower. He hadn't touched it in years. He pulled it out and opened it. The letter was gone. Of course it was. Margaret had taken it, read it, and then put it back together with his life somehow, without him ever noticing. But something else was there. A small envelope tucked into the bottom of the box. His name on the front in Margaret's handwriting. Thomas, it said. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone and someone finally told you what I knew. I'm sorry I never had the courage to tell you myself. I tried so many times, but I could never find the words. I want you to know that I forgave you a long time ago, not for what you did in 1983. That wasn't mine to forgive, but for all the years you spent punishing yourself in silence, for the way you could never quite let yourself be happy, for the distance you kept, even from me. I know you became a firefighter because of that night. I know every life you saved was an attempt to balance a scale that can never be balanced. And I want to tell you something I should have said years ago. You are not the man who ran away. You are the man who stayed, with me, with our children, with this town that needed you. Please stop running, Thomas. I love you. I always did. Margaret. 3 days passed. Thomas didn't call his children, didn't leave the house except to check the mail. He moved through the rooms like a ghost, reading and rereading the letters until he had memorized every word. On the 4th day, there was a knock at the door. Frank Hewitt stood on the porch. He was 76 years old, retired postmaster, lived 3 houses down. He and Thomas had been neighbors for almost 40 years. Saw your truck was gone for a while, Frank said. Just checking in. Thomas nodded. Took a trip, back now. Frank studied him with careful eyes, the same eyes that had watched Thomas arrive in Ridgewood in 1984, a young man with no history and no connections, looking to find a place to disappear. You all right? Frank asked. Thomas almost said yes, the automatic response, the easy lie. But he was so tired of lying. No, he said. I don't think I am. Frank nodded slowly, like this was the answer he had expected. You know, he said, I've lived next door to you for 38 years, watched you raise your kids, bury your wife, grow old. And in all that time, you never once talked about where you came from, never mentioned family back in Ohio, never explained why you showed up here with nothing but a duffel bag and a look in your eyes like you were running from something. Thomas said nothing. I never asked, Frank continued. Figured it wasn't my business. Whatever happened you were running from, you seemed like you were trying to be a good man here. That was enough for me. He paused. But I'm asking now, because whatever happened on that trip, it's eaten you alive. And I've seen that look before. Saw it in boys coming back from Vietnam. Saw it in my brother after his accident. It's the look of someone who's carrying something too heavy to carry alone. Thomas stood in his doorway looking at this man who had been his neighbor for 40 decades. A man who had never judged him, never pushed, just watched and waited and showed up when it mattered. It's a long story, Thomas said finally. Frank shrugged. I got time. They sat on Thomas's back porch, looking out at the mountains. Thomas told him everything. The bar, the rain, the man on the side of the road, the sound of the impact, the decision to run. He told him about the years of hiding, about becoming a firefighter to try to balance a debt that could never be balanced, about Margaret and the letters and Ruth at the funeral. Frank listened without interrupting. When Thomas finished, the sun was going down. The mountains had turned purple in the fading light. Frank was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "That's a heavy load." Thomas nodded. 40 years. Frank picked up his coffee cup, found it empty, set it back down. What are you going to do now? Thomas shook his head. I don't know. Part of me thinks I should go to the police, turn myself in, finally face what I did. And the other part? The other part knows it wouldn't change anything. The man is still dead. His wife is still dead. His daughter spent her whole life without a father. Going to prison now won't give any of that back. Frank considered this. What did the daughter say? Ruth. Thomas thought about their conversation in the hotel room. She said she needed to understand why I ran. I told her the truth. And then she gave me her mother's letter and Margaret's letter, and she said the same thing Margaret wrote. Which was that I've punished myself enough. Frank nodded slowly. Sounds like two women who had every right to hate you decided not to, he said. That's not nothing, Thomas. That's grace. Thomas looked at his hands. I don't know what to do with grace, he said quietly. I've spent my whole life expecting punishment. Frank stood up, joints creaking. Maybe that's the punishment, he said. Learning to live with forgiveness you don't think you deserve. He walked to the edge of the porch, looked out at the mountains. Your kids don't know, do they? No. You going to tell them? Thomas was silent for a long moment. I have to, he said finally. I'm done with secrets. Thomas called Garrett the next morning. His son was 45 years old now, a captain at the Ridgewood Fire Department. He had followed in Thomas's footsteps, joined up right out of high school, worked his way up through the ranks. Thomas had never been more proud of anything in his life. And now he was about to destroy it. Garrett came over that afternoon. He was still in uniform, must have come straight from a shift. He sat at the kitchen table, the same table where they had eaten 1,000 family dinners, and looked at his father with concerned eyes. What's going on, Dad? You sounded strange on the phone. Thomas sat across from him. The letters were on the table between them. There's something I need to tell you, he said. Something I should have told you a long time ago. It took almost an hour. Thomas went through it all, the same way he had with Frank, the accident, the running, the years of hiding, the funeral, Ruth, Eleanor's letter, and Margaret's letter. That was the hardest part. Telling his son that his mother had known, had carried the secret too, had protected Thomas until the day she died. When Thomas finished, Garrett was silent. His face had gone through several expressions during the telling, confusion, then disbelief, then something harder. Now it was blank, unreadable. Say something, Thomas said. Garrett stood up, his chair scraped against the floor. I need to go, he said. His voice was flat, controlled, the voice he used at fire scenes when things were bad. Garrett, I can't do this right now, Dad. I need time. He walked to the door, stopped with his hand on the knob. My whole life, he said without turning around, I wanted to be like you. I joined the department because of you. I pushed myself to be better because I wanted to make you proud. His voice cracked slightly. And now you're telling me it was all a lie, that you became a firefighter because you killed a man and ran away, that Mom knew and she lied to me too, that everything I thought I knew about my family was wrong. He opened the door. I'll call Tess. She deserves to hear it from me, not you. Then he was gone. Thomas sat alone at the kitchen table. The letters were still there, Eleanor's, Margaret's, Ruth's. The house was very quiet. Tess called 3 days later. She was 42, lived in Nashville, worked as an accountant. She had always been the practical one, the steady one, the one who asked questions and expected straight answers. "Dad," she said, "Garrett told me." Thomas gripped the phone. "I wanted to tell you myself." "I know, but he needed to talk to someone, and I'm his sister." There was a long pause. "Are you okay?" Tess asked finally. Thomas almost laughed, his daughter asking if he was okay, after everything he had just told her. "I don't know," he said honestly. "Are you?" Tess was quiet for a moment. "I'm trying to process," she said. "It's a lot." "I know. I keep thinking about Mom, how she must have felt knowing that about you and never being able to talk about it. That's the part that hurts the most, honestly. Not what you did, what she had to carry." Thomas closed his eyes. "I wish I had known," he said. "I would have told her she didn't have to protect me. But she did anyway, because she loved you." "Yes. And now she's gone, and you finally know, and you can't thank her or apologize or any of it. You just have to live with it." Thomas heard something in his daughter's voice that sounded almost like sympathy. "That's hard, Dad. I'm not going to pretend it isn't." There was another pause. "I'm not as angry as Garrett," Tess said. "I don't know why. Maybe because I always felt like there was something you weren't telling us, some part of yourself you kept locked away, and now I finally understand what it was." She took a breath. "But I need time too. I'm not ready to come visit or have long conversations about it. I just needed you to know that I heard you, and I'm still here." When they hung up, Thomas sat in his kitchen for a long time. Tess was still there. It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't understanding, but it was something. And right now, something was enough. The weeks turned into months. Thomas settled into a new kind of routine. He woke up early, made coffee, sat on the porch watching the sun rise over the mountains. He walked to the mailbox and back. He cooked simple meals and ate them alone. Frank came by every few days. They didn't always talk about the past. Sometimes they just sat together, two old men watching the world go by. The silence was easier now. It didn't feel like hiding anymore. Garrett didn't call. Tess checked in occasionally, short conversations about nothing in particular. How was the weather? Did he need anything from Nashville? Had he been to the doctor lately? She was keeping a line open without committing to anything more. Thomas understood. He had done the same thing his whole life. One morning in November, Thomas drove to the cemetery. Margaret was buried on a small hill under an oak tree. He had chosen the spot himself, back when choosing things still seemed possible. He sat in the grass beside her headstone and talked, told her about the funeral, about Ruth and Eleanor, about the letters he had finally read. "I wish you had told me," he said. "I wish we could have carried it together." The wind moved through the oak leaves. A bird called somewhere in the distance. "But I understand why you didn't. You were protecting me, the same way you always did, even when I didn't deserve it." He stayed until the sun started going down. Then he drove home, made dinner, and went to bed. The house was still empty, but it didn't feel quite as lonely as before. 3 months after the funeral, Ruth sent him an email. She had gone back to her life in Ohio. Her mother's house was sold, the estate settled, the last loose ends tied up. "I wanted you to know that I don't regret coming to you," she wrote. "It didn't give me closure exactly, but it gave me something, an ending maybe, or a beginning. I hope you find your own." Thomas read the email several times. Then he wrote back 2 sentences. Thank you for your grace. I'm trying." The Eleanor's funeral came and went. Thomas marked it quietly. He drove to the cemetery where Margaret was buried, sat with her for an hour, then drove home. He had stopped expecting things to change. Garrett still wasn't speaking to him. Tess still kept her careful distance. The letters were in a drawer now. Read so many times the paper was starting to wear thin at the creases. This was his life now. Quiet, solitary, honest. He had stopped running. The hardest part was the guilt that remained. Not for James Whitmore anymore. That guilt was still there, would always be there, but it had changed shape. It was part of him now, like a scar that had finally healed over. The new guilt was for Margaret, for the years she had carried his secret without complaint, for the way she must have watched him struggle with something she already understood, for all the conversations they could have had but didn't. He would never know why she chose silence, but he thought he understood, at least a little. She had loved him, and love, sometimes, means carrying weight that isn't yours. Frank died in February. Massive heart attack, quick and sudden. Thomas was a pallbearer at his funeral, along with Frank's 2 sons and 3 other neighbors. Afterward, he stood by the grave and thought about all the people who had kept his secrets. Eleanor, who could have destroyed him and chose not to. Margaret, who could have left him and chose to stay. Frank, who could have judged him and chose to listen instead. He didn't deserve any of them, but they had been in his life anyway, and that had to mean something. Spring came early that year. Thomas planted tomatoes in the garden the way Margaret used to. He wasn't very good at it, but the work felt right. Dirt under his fingernails, sun on his back, something growing that needed him. He was 69 years old. He had spent 40 years running from what he did, and another year learning how to stop. He didn't know how much time he had left, but he knew, finally, what he wanted to do with it. Live honestly, even if it meant living alone. The car pulled into his driveway on a Saturday afternoon in May. Thomas was on the porch, reading. He looked up at the sound of tires on gravel, not expecting anyone. A young woman got out. She was 24 years old, with Garrett's dark hair and Tess's careful eyes. Emma, his granddaughter. He hadn't seen her since Margaret's funeral, 3 years ago. Emma walked up the porch steps slowly. "Hi, Grandpa," she said. Thomas set down his book. "Emma, I didn't know you were coming." She sat in the chair beside him, the one that used to be Margaret's. "Dad doesn't know I'm here," she said. "I drove down from Knoxville this morning." Thomas watched her face, looking for anger or judgment. He found neither. "He told you," Thomas said, "about what I did." Emma nodded. "A few months ago. He was pretty upset. Still is, I think." "I know." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Emma said, "I've been thinking about it a lot, what you did, what it meant, how it changed everything." Thomas braced himself. "And I keep coming back to the same thing," Emma continued. "You did something terrible when you were young. You ran away from it, and then you spent the next 40 years trying to make up for it, even though you knew you never could." She looked at him directly. "That doesn't make it okay, what happened to that man, his wife, his daughter. Nothing makes that okay." "No," Thomas agreed. "It doesn't." "But it's also not the whole story," Emma said. "Dad told me about the firefighter stuff, the people you saved, the way you were with Grandma, the kind of father you were to him, even if he can't see that right now." Thomas couldn't speak. "I'm not here to forgive you," Emma said. "I don't think that's my place. But I'm not here to judge you either. I just wanted to see you." She looked out at the mountains, the same view Margaret had loved. "You're my grandfather," she said. "The only one I have left, and I'm not ready to lose you too." They sat on the porch for a long time. Emma told him about her life in Knoxville, her job at a nonprofit, her apartment with the terrible landlord, the boy she had been dating for 6 months. Thomas listened, asking questions, grateful for every ordinary detail. When the sun started setting, Emma stood to leave. "I should go," she said. "It's a long drive back." Thomas stood too. His knees protested, the way they always did now. "Thank you for coming." Emma hugged him, the first real hug he'd had in over a year. "I'll come back," she said, "if that's okay." "It's more than okay." She was halfway to her car when she turned back. "Grandpa?" "Yes?" "Dad's not as angry as he pretends to be," she said. "He's hurt. There's a difference." Thomas nodded slowly. "Give him time," Emma said. "He'll come around. He's stubborn, but he's not heartless." Thomas watched her drive away. The dust settled on the gravel road. The mountains turned gold in the evening light. He went back to his chair on the porch and sat down. 40 years ago, he had killed a man and run away. For most of his life, he'd believed that made him a monster, a fraud, someone who didn't deserve the family he had built or the life he had lived. But Eleanor Whitmore had found him and chosen grace. Margaret had known his worst secret and chosen love. Ruth had confronted him and chosen understanding. And now Emma had come, knowing everything, and chosen to stay. He wasn't the man who ran away. He was the man who finally stopped running. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. The porch was quiet, the evening cool. Thomas Wallace sat alone, watching the mountains he had called home for 40 years. He didn't know if Garrett would ever forgive him, didn't know how many more years he had or what they would hold. But for the first time in his life, he wasn't running from the answer. He was ready to wait. If this story found something true in you, share it, tell someone, or just hold it close. And remember this, some secrets are too heavy to carry alone. The people who love us, really love us, want to help carry the weight, even when we don't think we deserve it. Especially then. What would you have done? Would you have confessed or kept running? Let me know in the comments. And thank you for listening.